Today we are starting our new unit, KC3. Okay, so we are starting with 3A notes, and we're gonna have 2 days of 3A notes. All right, so the first day or a goal or objective for Target A is to interpret parts of expressions or equations in a real world context. So we talked about equations, and let me just refresh your memory. Equations, remember, are written as y equals mx plus b. Okay, and we're gonna have to interpret parts of it. Okay, what does that mean? That they're gonna ask you what does b stand for? Okay, what does m stand for? But obviously we're gonna have numbers. So what does the number stand for? The main thing to notice is that you're gonna be able to answer these questions if you know the difference between the slope and the y-intercept, if they're asking about the output. Okay, so just in case we forgot, again, y is your output. Okay, it talks about the total of something. Okay, that's why we have an equation. We're going to use that equation to find the total of something, your output. Also, don't forget that x is your input. Okay, your output depends on your input. Okay, input, it's your unknown. It's always the unknown because you never know what variable what number you're going to put for that variable. Okay, who knows? Um, then don't forget that m, we talked about m, it's the slope. And the slope is a change. How much is it changing by? Okay, and then don't forget we talked about the y-intercept. Okay, and don't forget that the y-intercept will always tell you the starting point. Okay. So again, when we are talking about real world situations, we're going to have to interpret based on finding if it's going to be the y-intercept that we're talking about, or is it the slope, or is it the output. Okay, so let's go ahead and try number one. It says the cost of a monthly cell phone plan is represented by the expression 0.35 m plus 22, where m is the number of text messages sent. What can 22 represent? So they're asking you, what does a 22 represent? And again, let me just rewrite the equation here. Y equals 0.35 m plus 22. Okay. Again, they're talking about a cost of a monthly cell phone. That means that Y, which is your total, okay, is talking about the total monthly. Okay, so Y is the total monthly cell phone bill. Okay, in case you didn't know, your parents pay for your phones and they have a monthly bill. Okay, how does that bill uh, start? Well, the bill starts with off a charge, right? The initial charge and charge per text message. Okay, let me just rewrite this over here in a different color. Don't forget that we're talking about equations. Y equals mx plus b. Okay. They ask you what does the 22 represent? Well, you should notice that 22 is talking about your B. Your B again is your y-intercept, which means it's the starting point. So my answer for this is that 22 is the, so 22 is the fixed fee for the cell phone plan. All right, fixed fee, just in case you don't know, is that fixed fee is the starting fee. Okay, let me put it that way, starting fee. And what is a fee? A fee is the amount of money they're going to charge you just by having a cell phone. So they're going to charge you $22 just by having a cell phone plan. Okay, plus 35 cents per text message. Again, you don't know how many text messages you're going to send. Every month is going to be different. That's why your unknown variable, your input, is M for this one. Again, they were just asking for 22, so 22 has to be the fixed fee. Okay, fixed fee means that it's never going to change. It will always be part of your plan. Okay, So every bill, you're always going to see the $22. It's a fixed fee. It's the starting fee. All right. And then that's it. We answer the question. 22 is the fixed fee for the cell phone plan. You are trying question number 2. Again, be careful on how to explain it. I am looking specifically for fixed fee. Okay. Every time we're talking about a y-intercept, I should have the explanations with a fixed fee, starting fee. It is the starting of something. It's the fixed fee or something, okay? So you are trying number 2, and you are sending me a picture if you want me to check your work. All right, moving on to question number 3. Again, we're doing the same thing. It said Joanna rents a boat. The pricing is listed in the given table. The equation for the given table is f of x, and I'm just rewriting it, equals 75x plus 300. What does the 75 represent? So now they're asking you for the 75. What does the 75 represent? Don't forget that f of x means y. So y equals mx plus b. All right, you notice that 75 is next to your input. That means that 75 is your slope, okay? That means that it's the change, okay? The change of what? The change of x. The change of x. And what does x mean? X is the hours renting, and it's based on the table that they gave me. That's how I know x is hours. That means that 75, so my final answer for this is 75 is the cost or price per hour for each hour. 75 is the cost or the price for each hour. 75x, that's what it means. Okay, be careful. Some of you guys are going to say that 75 is the hours renting. No, that's wrong. X is the hours of renting. 75 is next to X, so 75 has to be the cost per hours. Okay, so that's my answer for this one. 75 is the cost per hour. Okay, so again, once you identify if it's talking about the slope or the y-intercept, your answers are going to change, okay? Obviously, 75 is going to be the cost per hour, it's not the fixed fee for the boat rental, okay? It's different. Talking about the slope, and it's different than the y-intercept. You are trying number 4, and again, you're sending me a picture if you want me to check your answers, okay? Moving on to question number 5. All right, number 5 says, let me give myself some space because I'm going to need it. It says a junior class is planning prom. P of n equals 75n minus 10,000. Models the profits in dollars if n tickets are sold. A negative profit means the expenses exceed the income from tickets. From the function, identify the cost of a ticket, the cost of expenses for the prom, and identify the independent variable. All right, a few things I want to talk about is that expenses. Okay, what does expenses mean? Expenses, they tell you in the problem, it's a negative profit. Why is it negative? Because you're spending the money. Expenses is what you spend. And in case you didn't know, profit is money that you're gaining, money that you're receiving. Obviously, if you're wasting money, it has to be negative. Okay. Another thing to talk about is independent variable. We talk about independent very, very short. We did it in KC2 for, I think, for one problem. So maybe we don't remember, but we talk about dependent and independent. We do have to memorize the difference and know the difference, okay? We're always going to be talking about X or Y. X-axis or the Y-axis. Don't forget that X means input, Y means output. So one way I tell my students to remember is that input is X, right? X is input. That means that X has to be independent. Okay, that's how I memorize it, to be honest. If that's independent for X, that means that the Y has to be your dependent. So Y axis means dependent, X axis means independent. Another way I tell my my students to remember this is that output, remember, output is your final answer. Your final answer depends on your input. Your final answer has to depend on whatever number you put for the input. So you guys have to remember that output means depend, right? Output is depending on X. Y depends on X. So there's two different ways on how to remember this, okay? Make sure you guys study this one, you remember this one, you memorize it. Okay, we're going to be talking about independent and dependent a lot in the next unit. Okay, so back to my problem. They ask us to find the cost of a ticket, the total expenses, and independent variable. Let's start with my independent variable. Now that I know my independent means X, which means your input. Remember, your input is always next to your slope. So don't forget, P of n is actually saying y equals mx plus b. Right? That's my equation of a line. All right. So my input, my x, will always be next to your slope. In this problem, my input is n. That's going to be my independent. So my answer for this is that independent is talking about the letter n. And what does the n represent? The n means the tickets that are being sold. So the number of tickets being sold. That's my independent variable. Do I know how many tickets I'm going to sell? No. Okay. That's why that is my unknown. That's my input. All right, next, cost of a ticket. Well, the cost of a ticket, it has to be next to the number of tickets being sold, right? That it means that $75. $75 per ticket, right? So $75 per ticket. And then the total expenses, you'll notice that my equation is plus b, but in this one we have negative 10,000. That's because those are expenses. We are wasting that money, okay? So we're not adding to my profit, we're actually subtracting from my profit. So my expenses for this one is 10,000. You don't have to put the negative, okay? The negative is just saying that you're subtracting the 10,000. You're not adding how you usually do, plus b. We're doing minus b, which is expenses. Okay, so then there you go. I find my answer for cost of ticket, total expenses, and independent variable. That's the same thing you're doing for number 6. And again, for number 6, you need to send me a picture if you want me to check your work. Okay, and this completes 3A day 1 notes, and we'll continue with day 2 on the next video.